Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Cordero, and I'm a holistic life coach, and you're tuning in to Diving Deep with Denise. This is a beautiful sisterhood where we get to have raw and authentic conversations about all expressions of what it is to be embodied as a woman. We'll talk about our pain, our suffering, our journey to healing, and of course, all of our triumphs. So, as part of the premiere of Diving Deep, I wanted to bring in several special guests, all women that are near and dear to me and special because they have been so instrumental and a part of my own healing journey for the last 10 years. And today we have our guest, Christine Cronin. Let me introduce you. She is the owner and founder of Satya Wellness. She's originally from Switzerland, but now lives on Boston's North Shore with her husband. She's called many places home around the world, from Europe to Southeast Asia and now America, and became interested in natural health and the many properties of local herbs and foods wherever they set their suitcases down for a few years. She focuses on natural health and wellness for her clients using lifestyle advice and non-drug therapies that are both safe and effective. Christine is certified by the Chopra Center for Wellness Well-Being in Carlsbad, California, as an Ayurvedic instructor in perfect health. And she holds a Ph.D. in natural health from Kingdom College of Natural Health, as well as a bioenergetic practitioner and a certified holistic health practitioner. She's also trained and certified as a traditional Usui Reiki master and teacher. Christine, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Denise. It's such a pleasure.
So nice reconnecting with you. I wanted to dive right away. Talking about some of the modalities that you use and that I've experienced. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me that I personally am working on, and I've seen in my coaching clients, are the self-limiting beliefs that keep us stuck where we are. It's the constant hamster wheel that we understand is deeply rooted in some trauma, usually tied to our childhood. And then we start developing this belief that we are not good enough, or that we're not worthy, or that we're not deserving. And there's so many tools and so many different things out there. I know I personally have used positive affirmations and working on self-awareness and reflection. And of course, looking at those different things, doing inner child work and going deeper into myself and looking at, at what age did I experience or first experience this not feeling good enough or not being deserving, and peeling the layers of the onion, so to speak, to get there. But I've also experienced Evox and found that you have almost an immediate shift happening. Can you tell us about Evox?
Yes, of course. Evox is a really, really interesting device. So Evox is founded on the theory that, obviously, to go back first to the point you were making, I think those grooves we have that are emotional, those grooves are deep and they are old, right? Yes. So they are, think of being in the jungle and you've had a path made with a machete in the jungle. And that's the grooves we have that are set, as you said, in childhood. And those grooves or those paths are well traveled, and they keep firing for us, whether we want them or not, right? It's those synapses in the brain, they keep going on. And it's very difficult to find a way to let them go and hack a new path. And I think that's the point of the subconscious. It's not very easily accessed to allow us to change. So by default, we always go back to that well-worn path because it's easier, whether we are conscious of it or not. It's not about feeling bad that we go back to what's easiest. I think it's a default that we are naturally drawn to. So Evox allows us really to create a new path. And in sleep, believe it or not, you are really letting go of some of that baggage that we've carried for so long. And it really frees the subconscious to actually create something new. So you were talking about a pretty immediate shift. I've seen some pretty amazing things happen with Evox. So the idea of Evox is basically we take a slice of somebody's voice. It's a recording that's about 10 seconds long. And the machine analyzes the frequencies that are in that recording. So obviously someone can Evox on just about anything. You can Evox on, as you said, not feeling good enough. You can Evox on a trauma, a very specific event that happened. I've had people come in and Evox on the grief of losing a loved one, or having been mugged or raped. I mean, we're talking about very intense things. But we can Evox on things that are not at all quite as tragic. There's no right or wrong as far as Evox goes, but it's something that needs to change. So once that recording is made, the frequencies are then sent in through the system to be changed, to be healed. And we keep on recording until really the subconscious gets the memo, so to speak, and achieves a shift. And I get to see this as the session is going. I can see it happening. And once the shift has happened, there's a number of things we measure from there on. And then we give the person time. You need some time to digest the session, to see what happens, to be more aware of maybe an aha moment that might happen. I've had people have aha moments right there and then while we do a session, but often it comes later. You might wake up with something. You get this fleeting something right as you are in between sleep and wakefulness. Or you might catch yourself thinking about something completely different that you've never thought of before. Everybody is different in how they realize the effect of their Evox. But it's been very, very interesting. It's an amazing system. The whole system was created on the idea of, it was actually a doctor in, I believe he was in France, who created a system for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. Okay. And it allowed them to listen to very specific frequencies to enlarge the amount of frequencies they can actually hear. It's still used all over the world in Institute for the Deaf. The method is called the Tomatis method. And by listening through very specific headphones to those frequencies, it enlarges their perception of sound. So this is basically the same, is that we enlarge the perception that we have of a special event or something that we perceive as being true. And when you enlarge that perception, you see things differently.
Yes.
If you think of driving on the highway in the middle of a forest, right? All you see is the trees. That's your view. That's all you get to see. What you don't see is that beyond the trees, there's probably a village, and there's maybe houses, and there's maybe a school and a church or something. You can't see it. So your subconscious is like, it's not there. But when you enlarge or you kind of see through the trees, you're going to see more things. And that's really basically the thought process behind Evox, is you enlarge the perception.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Now, as someone who regularly uses different frequencies and listen to like different solfeggio frequencies as a way of shifting and changing my energy and being able to either cleanse or clear my aura, or come out of or arise from a negative vibration into a more vibration of gratitude and love and so forth. How would you compare Evox to listening to frequencies online somewhere like a YouTube or something? Because there is a market difference.
Yes, there is. So I think that the power of sound healing cannot
Yes.
be understated. And we know there's many ways that you can get sound healing. You can use tuning forks, you can use gongs, you can use all sorts of things.
Yes.
And I have actually beautiful friends who offer sound healings here on the North Shore. And it's magical to be in a session of sound healing. It can actually bring you to tears. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And I think that each emotion has an actual, and this is science, it's recognized, each emotion has an actual resonance on the energy and frequency scale. So we know that.
Yes.
This is why all of those tuning forks are tuned to very specific megahertz resonance. So we know that.
Yes.
So I think you can use any of those to, on a daily basis, if someone wants to do that, to bring themselves back to a better state. So we know that fear, anger, all of those are very low vibrations. Love and hope and, you know, happiness are much higher on that scale. And that's an easy way and a beautiful way to bring ourselves back on a better footing. What the Evox does, however, is that it does not really look for happiness or contentment or fear. What it does, it analyzes your frequency. Whatever comes out of your mind, your mouth, literally, it will analyze that. So the Evox is so predetermined to what you say, and not the words that you use, but the frequency behind those words. So when I take somebody through an Evox the first time, I explain to them that once, it's not talk therapy, so they do not need to dive back into, let's take somebody who had a traumatic experience.
Yes.
You don't have to dive back into this horrible experience to tell it over and over and over again, which is terrifyingly stressful. But they do have to put their mind in that space, and they can use very few words to talk about it. And it's only 10 seconds recording, so they don't have to tell me a whole story. But behind those words, the frequency of that event is going to be picked up. And that you cannot achieve by just, let's say, listening to the frequency of contentment or happiness. This will not take away that experience that they've had. Whether the Evox focuses just on that. And as the recordings go, you can see actually that frequency change and shift until actually it's completely shifted. So the difference is that the Evox is extremely personal to what that person is going through right now, versus listening to things that make you feel good, which I think all of us should do, because right now the world needs a lot of that.
Oh God, yes. So the other thing also is that I don't know if you had mentioned this or not, but that Evox also works remotely. And as our world is shifting and we're moving towards more of the, remote services type of deal, I think it's great to know, because you have clients internationally as well, that this is something that could be done remotely as well. What does that process look like?
Yes, so my whole practice has gone remote as of March, because, right now it's a much easier way to go. So unfortunately, I would love to show you the remote, I would love to show you the machine that we use, but I don't have it, because I have a few that I own, and they are actually somewhere around. They are traveling to some of my clients. So I don't have any right here, right this second, because I'm not doing anything personally in the office any longer. But basically what the client needs is either I mail them the little hand cradle that needs to be plugged into a PC. Unfortunately, we cannot run those devices on Macs, so somebody has to have access to a PC. And then, because of the rules of sanitation right now, they have to buy their own headset with the microphone, and it has to be a USB port to plug in. So this, I used to lend it, I no longer do that. And once they receive this, basically they download a little app on their computer that connects to my device here, and the voice is carried the same whether they were sitting across from me or if they were sitting 5,000 miles away. It makes no difference. And we go through the sessions. So some of my clients who are regular users of Evox have actually purchased their own hand cradle, because it makes no sense for me to mail it to them once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. It's expensive because we have to insure it. It's a pretty fragile piece of equipment, so it was much easier for them to buy one. But yes, distance is absolutely not an issue with that. It can be used anywhere.
That is awesome. I think that is so great. So I wanted to move into another modality, which I've experienced. And so for me as a holistic life coach, it's so important to get a full picture of my client and to work on a holistic plane, meaning we are working on the mental, emotional level, on the physical level, on the spiritual levels. These are all important because one informs the other. And so you can have an imbalance in one area, work on these others, and then you can make a shift, but it doesn't stick. It's not sustainable. And so for me, the importance of detox is, can't be understated. And a lot of people don't understand that we are in contact with so many things in our lives, in our environment, that affect our physiology. That it is not only self-limiting thoughts and beliefs and negative thinking that become toxic to our physiology, but it is also in our nutrition. If it is not balanced, that more and more nowadays we have genetically modified foods, that we have crops that are completely denatured of its mineral content, its nutrition content, just in the way that it is grown and transported and brought, because we have everything that's available to us all year round. We don't eat seasonally. And the other thing is also probably, sedentary jobs or lives, and not moving and not exercise, and the importance of having to move. All these things play a role in the way that we feel. And I hear this more and more of this feeling tired and lethargic, not having enough energy throughout the day to do, daily functions, and having all these different signs or symptoms. And unfortunately, as much as I like to say, we have this intricate system of the healthcare, it's broken in so many ways, and it is failing to really diagnose and treat some of these illnesses, which they call, our NEC, not elsewhere classified, right? Or not otherwise known or specified for our people. And this is where I feel that natural health, naturopathic, is coming in and doing us justice, that are seeking. So the ionic detox foot bath is one. I'm sure you have other detox programs. But the ionic foot detox was one where, again, I feel that has a cumulative effect as you do several. You have an immediate effect right away, and it's noticeable, it's visible, you see it. But it has this cumulative effect as you do more, where you just feel lighter.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? When did you start using it in your practice? What are the results that you're seeing in your patients and clients?
Yeah. So, yes. And before I address that, I just wanted to come back on a point that you made. I think it's really important for people to understand, what does natural health mean?
Yes.
Because we are getting those, words that everybody is using, and they've lost their meaning. I think everything is natural and it doesn't mean anything any longer.
Yes.
And I think that the way to understand that is you look at the definition of health in the dictionary, and basically it says, you are free of disease.
Okay.
What does that mean? So you go to the doctor, you have a physical, because today everything is judged by the numbers. So if your numbers on the blood tests and urine tests and whatever are normal, or you are in range, then you are considered healthy.
Okay.
You might feel awful when you get up in the morning. You might go through your day drinking far more coffee than you should to be awake and having no energy for things and not feeling good. And then you go to bed at night and you can't sleep. And the rat race continues that way, but you're still deemed healthy because there's nothing wrong with you. So I think in natural health, we just flip this completely on its head and say, good health is having abundant energy, is having really everything working for you, being able to bound out of bed in the morning, happy for the day. You can't wait to tackle everything you need to do because by the end of the day, you'll feel really good about what you've done. You've had great food that gives you good energy, and you go to bed tired and you sleep. And that to me is a far better cycle than the other one.
Yes.
But most of the clients that come and see me are kind of stuck in that other one because this is what we are taught here. So I have nothing against Western medicine. I think it's a fantastic system when you have a crisis. And they are very good at crisis care. Where they are really lacking is about chronic care. They really don't address that so well. Nobody is born with a deficiency in, cholesterol medicine. No one is.
Would you even say that even failing at preventive medicine? I hear this over and over again, and I've been in healthcare, working in healthcare for over 20 years, and I hear this from doctors. We don't spend nearly enough time talking about nutrition.
No.
And it's just so important and so critical to health, proper nutrition.
Yes, I honestly think that it is changing a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe 5-6 years ago, I would see clients that have cancer and I would talk to them about nutrition, and then they would go to their doctor and the doctor would say, who cares? Just go and eat ice cream, enjoy it while you can, which of course putting, sugar and dairy products in a body suffering from cancer already, is not a good idea. So I now have seen a little bit of a shift where at least they're trying to send their patients to nutritionists. I mean, whatever the advice they get is better than telling them to go eat ice cream. So I think there is a little bit more of awakening for that.
Yes.
But we're nowhere near where we should be. And the problem also, as you just stated earlier, is that a lot of the food that people get is not very good food. And there's a lot of contradicting information out there as to who should eat what, and is one diet okay for everybody? No, it's a very individual thing, and where somebody might thrive being a vegan, another one will not. There's no one rule for all, and I think this is why I really love holistic medicine, is that we take a very personalized approach, is that one client having disease A and another client having identical disease A will have completely different information to go home with, because everything is different. Their causes might be different, their environment is different, the way they have family support is different. All of that will involve so much more than just saying, take the pill for disease A, you'll be fine. That doesn't really work. So yes, to come back to the foot bath, sorry for the detour. It's something I've been using for, 6-7 years now, I would say, probably. And I really, really love that machine because it helps detoxify naturally with the client being passive. So they don't really have to do anything. They just chill out, sit on a chair, put their feet in a basin of hot water with salt, and it does the job on its own. So when you think about how it works, it's a machine that changes the ions in the water from negative to positive, back to negative, back to positive. It's a little bit like going for a very long walk if you are lucky enough, like we are, to live near the ocean,
Yes.
it's like walking with your feet in the ocean times 100, right? So the ocean has those negative ions, and you're breathing them in and you walk in them and you're feeling so good and energized. So the foot bath is somewhat similar to that, hence the salt water. And it kind of draws things through the feet. So I've seen anything and everything through that machine. I've seen water that's pretty clear and nothing much is out. And I've seen it completely black with a layer about an inch thick of foamy stuff that came out. So clearly everybody is different, and it'll change from time to time. The most remarkable thing I've seen, I would say, over all of these years, was a client of mine who had a very one of those diseases that couldn't be classified, right? And he had absolutely zero energy at all. He would get up, do a few things, and have to lie down again. And by coming regularly to do foot bath, he would come twice a week for quite a long time. It was the only thing that gave him enough energy to carry on through his day, to the point that after a while, he ended up buying his own machine, because he figured that if I use it every day, it'll be better for me. And of course, I thought it was a fantastic idea. Those machines are very expensive. So it was wonderful that he was able to do that. But people that come in really love it. It helps them, somebody that suffers from maybe a little bit of water retention. I've heard from them that they said they felt better and they didn't feel quite as bloated. Or usually it gives people energy, and it just gives them this extra oomph in their day. So it's pretty cool. The idea right now, of course, because we are all remote and everybody, our offices are closed and things like that. So I'm lucky enough in my home office that I have a patio right outside my office, and with a door right there. And I have been setting up foot baths for people right outside, which has been fabulous. So people come by, they can sit in the sunshine. I will actually give them a glass of hydrogen water if they feel. I'll do some Reiki on them while they do their foot bath. And it's been quite the experience to be able to do that when the weather allows.
That is awesome. That is nice. Now, is the foot detox something that you recommend to all of your clients, or as far as your detox programs are concerned, do you also take a very personalized approach as to what may work for some people more than others?
So I think it really depends what they are faced with.
Yeah.
Detox can be done by everybody, whether you are feeling well or ill. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be good for everyone. But somebody who has a recognized illness might actually benefit more, from having some extra detox from that. But it would not be the only thing they do, obviously. So it's going to just be an added way for them to detoxify, which I think is great. But everybody will benefit from that. I've had a client of mine came, I don't know how long she's been with me for, it's a long time. And she comes once a month, regularly, clockwork. It's probably been 2 years now. And she had issues with yeast and had problems with her toenails. And gone, it's all gone. She's never done anything else. She didn't change anything else. So she comes once a month. She's like, I'm not going back there. This works for me and it's cool. She's not ill. She doesn't have anything wrong with her. It's just obviously the yeast was a problem. She was not really willing to do other things about it. That has worked for her. So this is fantastic. It's an easy way to address it. But yes, I would say that for somebody who has a more important health issue, I would highly recommend to do other things in addition to the foot bath. Is only just, it scratches the surface, so to speak. So it wouldn't be enough on its own. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I would be remiss if we didn't share some things about COVID here with your tremendous background and knowledge and education on natural health and healing, because I feel that it's something that our community needs and is looking for. So much of what's been going on and has played out on a world stage with COVID has been, there's like news coming from all different outlets and all different spaces. And one of the things for me personally that I have found, again, working in healthcare, is that no one is talking about immune system. No one is talking about how we can, combat this illness in a smart way, and rather than taking the, some of what I feel are very draconian and dark age methodologies of trying to prevent an illness, which is everyone wearing a mask everywhere you go, social distancing, and being in isolation for long periods of time, which has had negative and very ill consequences to our mental health and our well-being, and is actually counterproductive to strengthening our immune system. Can you talk to us your perspective as a natural health practitioner? What are the things that we can do to help our immune system? Well, really talking about COVID in relation to our immune health, and what can we do to strengthen it?
Right. It's really the big question at this time. And I think that very much to what you were saying, we're seeing a lot of fear, understandably so. I'm not making light of that. It is there. There's a lot of fear that is driven by many different things. And fear is the number one element that will absolutely destroy your immune system. So the more fearful we are, the worse we actually are, the more we are likely to get that virus. I think that understanding the role of the immune system is a huge deal. And our immune system has protected us as a species for millennia. So obviously we're still around, right? So it's been a long time. Humans have walked this earth for millions of years. So the interesting thing about it is that we no longer trust our bodies to be able to do the job. And I think that this is a result of always have been told that you need medication, you need this, you need that you absolutely can't do it on your own. So again, I'm not denying modern medicine. I think that it has amazing advantages, and definitely advances in medicine have saved a lot of lives. However, we have to come back to basics and remember that our immune system is designed to protect us. And what's happened with this virus is that clearly it has some very dangerous effects once it gets into the body, for some, not for all.
Yes.
And I think that certain things that we possibly have had before, so what they call pre-existing conditions, will, or comorbidities, will influence how the body reacts to that virus. So someone who has diabetes or high blood pressure or cardiovascular issues or whatever, name the thing, will have a harder time with that. No question, the elderly, we know that they are more at risk. Yes. However, we also know that by having a peak, an immune system working at peak efficiency will give us a much higher chance that if we did catch that virus, we would be able to weather the storm in a better shape. So the immune system is an interesting thing too, is that it has to be just right. It can't be too high or too low. When people say boost your immune system, you actually want to make sure to understand what that means. It has to be working perfectly well. So think of the virus coming in, right? And it starts replicating, and your body goes into an immune response, which actually can kill you. Because if the immune response is too strong, you're going to have such a response that it can destroy your body. So the immune system has to do the right thing, not too low and allow replication, and not too high and kill everything, because then you might die as well. And this is what they have talked about when they talk about a cytokine storm. You may have heard this.
Yes.
It actually was in the news. So cytokine storm can be very dangerous. So there's many things that can be done. I have all of my family in Europe and friends in Asia as well, where I lived. And they are probably a month to a month and a half or 2 months ahead of us with all of this. And I read a lot of the medical studies that have come out of Europe because they are ahead of us and they have already experienced things we have not yet seen here, while we are still in the middle of the curve. The curve is still going up in this country, unfortunately. And there's so many things we can do. So the first that I always recommend is turn your TV off, because the more you watch those news, the more, not to be completely uninformed, but pick and choose. Because the more you dive in, the more fear you create, the more you are teaching your body to be so stressed that your immune system is suppressed. So that's a huge thing. I teach people how to breathe. Our breath is like stuck up here because we're so stressed, right? And there's nowhere to go. So bring the breath back in and calm down. And on a supplement basis, as you see behind me, obviously with my clients, I recommend certain things for certain reasons, not just supplements everywhere, right? There's no need for that. But certain things are very pointed that really have been shown in studies to be helpful to prime the immune system to be working at peak efficiency. And obviously, as naturopaths, we have to be very cautious as to what we talk about. We are not diagnosing, curing, or prescribing. So obviously, I'm more than happy to help people any which way I can, but this has to be something that they talk about to me directly. We cannot give advice on media in any way, shape, or form. But there's many things that can be done. Eat a clean diet. Oh goodness, right? McDonald's is not doing very well right now to help the body. So you want to fill up with great vegetables, get good amounts of good fats, hydrate. Everybody in this country is dehydrated. Alcohol and coffee dehydrates. So we need to drink more water or tea, but not more beer, right? So I'm not against somebody having a beer, but there's a time and a place. And I think that, like you said earlier, the pandemic has made everybody be more stressed. So they reach for the things that they feel is distressing to them, which is alcohol in general. So
a lot of self-medicating happening.
Correct. And that is like one of those vicious circles where the body becomes weaker and then they eat things that they normally wouldn't because, I'm stressed. So here comes the ice cream and the chocolate and whatever else. So it's about being aware and trying to make choices. Anything that we decide to do, we have free will and free choice. And nobody is perfect. That's definitely true. But we can all make better choices on a daily basis. So food is really the one where we make a choice pretty much 3 times a day as to, will this build my body up or will this break me down?
Yeah.
And it's a choice. So do you want to have an ice cream one day? Of course, why not? Do you want to have an ice cream every day? Maybe not. So it's about, trying to figure that out. But there's a lot of amazing scientists out there that have made remarkable discoveries about things that don't ever come to light in the media because it's simple stuff. And people think that it has to be super complicated because it's a new virus and they are putting their hopes on a vaccine, waiting for the vaccine to come, then I'll be safe. I don't know that the vaccine is anywhere near to be produced, first of all, and there's never been, historically, there's never been a vaccine against any coronavirus because there are many others, right? This is
of
just
course.
one of them. Has never been shown to work. So, it's just one of these things. We are going to have to live with COVID, whether we like it or not. It is one of these things that will not just go away. And we are going to have to learn to manage it. And by managing it, the easiest we can do is to manage our own body to be able to withstand the virus, because at some point we will all be exposed. Let's face it. You cannot stay home for the next 30 years.
So
and
true.
Even then, there'll be somebody that, in your environment that will have it. So I have actually a good friend of mine who had the coronavirus, never even knew it.
Wow. Yes.
Nothing. She was actually now tested for antibodies for a whole other reason and found out that she had it. but didn't know. So you have the whole range. I also have lost friends to it. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
So it can be the whole range of not feeling anything all the way to, unfortunately, losing your life. So I think that by putting the most aces we can in our camp, we will all be better. And there's a multitude of things to be done to help with that. So stress relief, good food, good water will go a long way. And then some very targeted supplements that we know will actually tamper down the body's response if we do get sick.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Christine.
You're so welcome.
Yes. So I'd like to segue into the segment of our program I like to call the Deep Five.
Cool. Yes.
So let's start with the first question.
Okay.
What is a life lesson that you have had to learn the hard way?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. So that's really cool. So I will go with learning that by requesting independence, I also am passing it on to others. So I'll explain that. When I was in my very early 20s, I decided to leave Switzerland and go live in Southeast Asia. And I know for a fact at the time, I bulldozed my way through that. I really wanted to go. My soon-to-be husband lived there, and we had wonderful years there. But I know that I probably broke the heart of a lot of my family back home because we left, and there was that. And at the time, I did not recognize that at all. I thought, it's my life. I'm just going to go. And life has an interesting way to bring things back full circle. Is that now our two children live on the West Coast, and I get to experience, and although I'm delighted about it, I get to experience in some ways probably what my parents felt in much worse ways, because they couldn't just hop on a plane and come and see me, whether I mostly can. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting that it has taken me all these years to realize that maybe I caused some pain, I'm sure. And now I understand it, whether I think before I did not.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you. So the next one is not going to be any easier. What is the hardest thing that you have ever had to do in your life, and how did you overcome that?
Ooh, that's probably an emotional response there. The hardest thing ever was losing my mom, I think. And coming to terms with the fact that I was not able to be there, again, distance, right? I was here. And I think having to do a lot of work around that after the fact. Evox has helped me a lot with that, but also visiting some of my friends, practitioners, doing energy work, doing all kinds of things to come to terms with probably the guilt I felt at not being able to be there when needed. Probably that was the hardest thing ever. But we have tools to help with that. And I feel that I'm in a good place now, knowing that there was nothing that was left unsaid, and she wasn't upset that I wasn't able to be there. It just was too fast, and even hopping on a plane, I just didn't make it. So yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that comes to mind right now.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that it must be hard to touch upon that, and I think we're like kindred spirits in that regard, because it will soon be 2 years since my mother passed away, and some week earlier, before she did pass away, I was planning on actually visiting her, and I had this excitement built around spending time with her. And come to find out, I receive a call while I'm at work saying that she had passed away. And
Yeah.
she was in Israel. when she died. And it was, I just like, I couldn't believe it. It was just the moment of shock when you get that news. And it was just like so unexpected. She was 10 days shy of her 65th birthday.
She was young.
She was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's hard. I'm sorry.
So thank you. No, it's okay. This is one of the things that I love about building this community, that it's not just about providing information, but it's really about real experiences that happen to us. And some of them are hard, and they are emotional, but there are ways to get to the other side. There are ways to be able to cope, and in sharing those with our sisterhood and sharing that with the community, we hope to impart hope, and inspiration that it can get better.
Right. Exactly.
It will get better.
And it does.
Yes.
You can't see it necessarily in the moment, but it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what legacy do you want people to remember you for?
That I cared. I think as a practitioner, it's probably the one thing I have heard often from my clients is that I listen. Yeah. I'm not the 8 minutes, get going, this is not my practice. I take time. So my consultations are an hour and a half. And I listen and I care. And what people go through matters to me. I know that when I close the office door, I can't necessarily leave it. That's the blessing and the curse, right? I carry it with me. But I care. This is not a job to make money, although I get paid. I have bills and things like that. But the point is that I think I got into this because I care. And I would hope that that this is the way I'll be remembered, as a caring human.
Thank you. I certainly know, because I have been the blessed recipient of being your client and a friend. And I know how deeply you care and how deeply you listen. And that is so needed, as a woman to another woman, and in our sisterhood. That is so needed, to be deeply heard, and to be present with someone else. And that can never, that can never be taken for granted, can never be understated how important that is.
I think we live in a very fast-paced society. Everything
too
is
fast.
Quick. So, it's the Twitter moment, 120 characters or less.
Yes.
And we have, I think by and large, we have lost. I mean, I'm thinking of my childhood in Switzerland, where the doctor came home. You didn't go to the doctor's office, he came home. And he, he had an office, but most of the time he just came home. And you had this moment with just him. There was no other distraction. There was no other, nothing around, no secretary poking their head around the corner saying your next patient is here or whatever. And I think that this is something we have lost today, not just with the doctor, but in general, is that everything has to be quick. It's efficiency, it's whatever, profit making, whatever we want to call it, a bit of all of the above. But slowing down and taking time. And people don't hear very much that they matter anymore. Yeah. So that's very important to me.
Very. Thank you. What is your favorite motivational quote?
That too shall pass.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It has served me well.
Yes. And lastly, what's one thing you would like to share with our sisterhood?
I would like to share that even in the darkest moments, there's always hope. And I think that all of us, to some degree or another, have gone through things that we feel are soul crushing, or where we can't see our way through, or the tunnel certainly has no light at the end, or we can't perceive it. And I think that together we can work together to support one another. Even if somebody has to carry you a mile through that tunnel, you know, we are there to support one another to go through whatever it is that's happening. And I think that, you know, the wheel turns, right? Sometimes you are on the top and doing really well, and sometimes you're at the bottom and somebody carries you to move that wheel back up. And I think it's something that we need to maybe enact more, or make it more well known that it's not just words, it's real. And I think we are there to literally shoulder one another to move forward. And I think that it have been times in my life that I would have, I don't really know what I would have done without the support of my female tribe.
Yeah.
And that has meant a lot. And I think that we need to, especially now where there's so much stress and strife and discord and, you know, all that's going on right now, we need more than ever, we need to gel together and make sure that we can put this out there so that others understand that they can ask for help, that it is not a show of weakness, that it is quite all right. And I think together we can make this change and be more of a normal way to be.
Thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful message. And thank you for being here with me and, you know, just being yourself, being your whole self, showing up, sharing your knowledge and your beautiful heart with all of us. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in to Diving Deep with Denise. Please remember to like, review, share with everyone. For the full notes on this podcast, you can go to my website at denisecordero.com. And of course, to know more about Christine and to get a personalized consultation, you won't regret it. Go over to her website at satyawellness.com. Take care. Love you all, my sisters. Until next episode.